If 8 out of 10 discovery calls end with, let me think about it, it's not because your offer is wrong, it's because the call had no roadmap and people don't buy what they can't see a path through. Give me the next few minutes and I'll walk you through the CASE framework, which is a 4-step structure for your sales calls that gives your prospect complete clarity on exactly what it's like to work with you so that they stop saying, let me think about it, and they start wondering, what do they have to do to work with you? If you want the CASE framework template so that you can map this out for your own business in less than 5 minutes, drop a line below and I'll DM it to you. My name's Matt Fleischer. I'm the owner of Matt Makes Money, where I help clients go from a 15% close rate to over 40% on their sales calls with an average of 8 to 10x return on their ad spend. Here's what's actually happening on most sales calls right now. You do the work to get somebody on the phone. The conversation feels good. They're asking questions. They're telling you about their situation. You're thinking that this is the one. And then at the end, almost like clockwork, they say, let me think about it. Let me get back to you. And then they don't get back to you. So it's not that the offer is wrong. It's that they left the call without a clear picture of what comes next. People need to see a clear path or they don't walk it. I realized how common this problem is once I kept hearing it from frustrated people, and they don't understand why their offer is not working. So here's what most people do. When their calls aren't converting, they assume the problem is with the offer. They lower the price, they add extra bonuses, or they spend the entire call doing a free coaching session, hoping that giving enough value to the prospect will make them feel obligated enough to buy. Some of you are showing up on the call and just talking. There's no structure, there's no framework. You're having a great conversation, but you're not running a real sales call. And those are two very different things. You're essentially asking somebody to make a $1,500 decision based on a conversation that felt good, but didn't actually show them anything concrete. It doesn't work because a confused mind doesn't buy. When somebody says, let me think about it, what they're really saying is, I don't have enough clarity to make this decision right now. Think about it. They came into the call interested. They stayed for 30 to 45 minutes. They're not a bad lead. The problem isn't their interest. The problem is that at no point during the call did you lay out a clear roadmap that showed them, here's where you are, here's where you're going, and here's exactly how we get you there step by step. Without that roadmap, all they have is a feeling, and feelings are not enough to make them pull out their card. This clicked for me on a call where somebody was struggling with the profitability of their ads, and I was able to show them with certainty that if they implemented my ecosystem, they would start getting results almost immediately with higher quality leads and overall a lower ad spend. Here's the CASE framework that fixes this. 4 letters, 4 steps, every single call, every single time. Step 1, C, compile. Before you say a single thing about your offer, you need to compile everything that you need to know about where this person actually is. And I'm not talking about surface level small talk. You're gathering the real picture. You want them to give you a brain dump of everything that's happening in their lives. That could be things outside of work as well. What you're doing right now is you're trying to figure out exactly where the constraint is. You're building the case file. And here's what most people don't realize. This step is not just for you. It's actually for the prospect to hear themselves answer these questions out loud. They start to see their own situation more clearly. They hear the gaps in their own words, and they feel heard, genuinely heard, because you're not actually pitching on the call. You're literally just listening to what their problems are. Step 2, analyze. Now that you've taken everything in, you reflect it back to them with precision. So right now, you're bringing in about $4,000 a month, mostly from referrals, and your goal is consistent $10,000 months, right? The gap is that you don't have a predictable way to get in front of new people every week. Is that right? When you name the gap clearly, something powerful happens, right? They don't just feel seen, you've just described their problem better than they can describe it themselves. So you're not guessing, you're not pitching anything. You're literally diagnosing their problems, and a good diagnosis is the fastest way to build authority on a call because it proves that you actually understand the problem before you ever talk about a solution. Step 3, S, strategize. This is where calls fall apart. It's where CASE changes everything. So instead of jumping straight into your offer, you lay out what the strategy is. You actually walk them through the specific steps that they need to take to close that gap that you just identified. So it's not any vague promises, not we'll work together and figure it out. It's the actual strategy. You say, here's what that path looks like. First, we build X, then we set up Y, then we optimize Z. And by the end of the process, you'll have a specific result. Now they can see the bridge between where they are and where they want to be. And the path isn't fuzzy. The prospect can actually see where they're moving and they can make a decision. Step 4, E, execute. Now and only now, you move to execution. You invite them to take action. This is not hard selling. You're not hard closing them. There's zero pressure. You say, that's the strategy. You can execute this on your own. I've just walked you through it. Or if you want help executing this faster with someone guiding you through each step, that's exactly what we do. Would you like to hear more about that? Notice what just happened. You compiled their situation. You analyzed the gap. You laid out the strategy, and now you're giving them a choice to execute it alone for free or to execute it with you where they have the certainty and trust that you can solve the problem. That's not a pitch. That's a partnership invitation. And it converts because the prospect isn't guessing anymore. They can see the entire path clearly, and they're simply deciding if they want you as a guide. My client used this and was able to close a new member to their studio just by being curious. This works because it shifts the call from a pitch to a roadmap. People don't say, let me think about it because they're not interested. They say it because they can't see the path clear enough. When you compile their situation, analyze the gap, strategize the solution, and then invite them to execute, the decision becomes obvious. Now you can absolutely take this framework and implement it yourself. Map out your 4 steps, restructure it for your next call, and give it a try. Or if you want help to build your specific case framework for your offer, dial in the language and make sure that your roadmap is airtight before your next call. That's what we do. Either way, the framework is yours. If you want that template, drop a comment down below and I'll send it to you, and it walks you through everything that you need to know so that you could do this for yourself.